I have to tell you guys everything and I have to fill you in and just like share what happened in the timeline leading up to where we are now. I am no longer living in LA. Got engaged a month ago. I kind of lost touch of having normal people in my life. Hello. I am gonna sit down and I'm gonna spill all the tea. I'm gonna give you guys the full life update that I've been neglecting to do for a very long time. I don't even know where to start with this video because I just have not shared in so long because life has been so chaotic. I haven't had time to sit down and actually like fill you guys in. I feel like I'm doing a disservice by not sharing parts of my life and giving you guys the updates that you deserve. I feel like I'm abandoning myself as a creator if I'm not sharing on YouTube because that's what gives me joy. I love to be able to share. I feel like I'm withholding parts of me unless I'm posting on here on a regular basis and just sharing little aspects of my life and not sharing everything to an extent, as you guys probably can imagine. But there's a lot of life updates that I haven't really shared, starting with the fact that I am no longer living in LA. Also, got engaged a month ago, and I have to tell you guys everything and I have to fill you in and just like share what happened in the timeline leading up to where we are now. So just kind of like go back in time, give you a little story time. And then I'm also going to share an engagement story in the next video with Wells, my fiance. I want to do that next video because I just need that to be its own entity, but we're so excited. We are over the moon and I cannot wait to share this chapter of life with you guys. 4 years ago, I sat down and I did a video like this where I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just figuring it out. I just want to focus on myself. I'm not ready to date because I need to work on myself. And in order to attract someone in my life, I need to be doing the self-work and being able to get there myself so that I can attract that. That was a lot, but I just made that video like 4 years ago and here we are 4 years later, 5 years later with a ring on our finger, which is crazy. And there are good men out there. There are amazing people in this world. You just have to know where to look and you have to be able to do the self-work to attract that in your life. And Wells is the most incredible, loyal, just kind, good-hearted man that I've ever met, and I just can't wait to marry him and I can't wait to share our story and how we got to where we are now. And yeah, I'm so excited. So I poured myself a big cold brew because I have a lot to get through in this video, but I feel like we can start with the fact that I moved out of LA. Yeah, and I'm currently at our Texas condo because I also live in Texas now, which is crazy. I never imagined that I would live in Texas, but here we are and I love it. I started coming here, I think like 2 months after Wells and I started dating. He was like, hey, like, do you want to come to Texas next week with me? My mom has a lot of full length mirrors you can use, all this stuff. And I was dying laughing. And I was like, yeah, of course I'll come to Texas. And then I met his family. They were accepting of me right away. They treated me like their second daughter right away and just loved me and lifted me up and made me feel like family right away. And so Wells and I started, I think like 3 months into dating, just started basically splitting our time here together because every time he would come here, I would come here with him. And then I loved my routine that I had here in Texas. I could touch grass, I could be outside, I could drive. I mean, LA is like that too, but it's like, it's such a different lifestyle down here. It's a little slower. There's a lot of fun restaurants. My friends here are amazing. I started meeting friends here off the bat. Just normal, amazing people that I really needed in my life, that God placed in my life, because I feel like I was in this influencer industry for so many years and I kind of lost touch of having normal people in my life and not just having influencer friends who I love. I love all my influencer girlies and friends and guys so much. They also know how important it is to have friends that are not a part of this industry. Everyone can attest to that. That's a fact. Nothing against the influencer industry, but it's just a little bit draining. So coming to Texas was that kind of breath of fresh air that I needed, that pace, that routine, the family incorporation that I needed, and kind of just bringing me back down to earth. And that's why I spend time in Texas now. So this is Wells's condo. This is where we stay when we're in Texas. Moving on. So when I first moved to LA, I lived in a like kind of business long-term stay apartment And that was in West Hollywood. It was really expensive. I could not afford it long term. I just did it as like a temporary fix. I was like, okay, I'm gonna just get my foot in the door in LA. And I really liked living in LA. I felt like it was a nice fresh chapter. I had to move out of New York during COVID because I just felt like the chapter had closed and I had hit the ceiling in New York. I was done with it. Everyone was moving away. I was like, I just want to try something new. So I tried LA. I lived in that place in LA for like 6 months, and then I decided to put a deposit down on a place more long term. And that's when I moved to my other place in Santa Monica. I was there for about 4 years at that apartment. It was such an amazing townhouse. It was very big. It was 2 bedrooms, but it was like 4 stories tall or whatever. So it was like a very large square footage place, which was so nice compared to my New York place, which was like a tiny square box that I just could not live in long term. So yeah, I moved to Santa Monica. I had that place and I loved it. I took you along the process of decorating it, and it was my first kind of place that I had that was like, felt like a home, and I was really excited about it. So when I met Wells, he basically moved in with me like the first day we met. He just wanted to spend a lot of time together. We lived in Santa Monica for like a year together basically, and once we started significantly splitting our time in Texas, the place felt like a waste for me because it was just so big. I wasn't spending any time there anymore. I was spending a lot of money on my rent, and I was like, you know what? Why don't I get rid of that place and we just downsize in LA and maybe move somewhere else that's more convenient? So I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll start looking at another place and just see what happens. So I went on Zillow and I started going crazy, and you know how it is when you like start looking at apartments. It's kind of like game over. You're like, okay, love this. You get excited. Like the adrenaline rush of looking at places online is so fun. And I found a place in West Hollywood that I loved. Wells was like, we have to go look at it. So, but yeah, I went to go look at it in person with Wells, and he was like, I think we should do it. I think it's going to be such a great investment to be in West Hollywood, closer to everything. So when we come to LA, we're just right here and it's convenient. And then we can kind of get in, see our friends, do all the social things, go to your events that you need to, and then you can just get out and go back to Texas. We applied for it and we made it happen. I moved to West Hollywood. And I was there for a whole year at this place. It was so beautiful. It was a 1928 Spanish style apartment. It was much smaller than my previous place in Santa Monica, but I loved it because we were barely there and I could decorate it very like classic, and it had so much character. And I don't know, I guess I can go into the conversation about why I started to dislike going to LA a little bit. So as I told you before, I moved there during COVID because I felt like I had kind of hit the ceiling in New York. I'd kind of like seen things through. I was single, I needed a new chapter. But when I moved to LA, I loved it, and it was great because I had this new life. It was exciting. I was able to like expand myself and start something new and experience a new city alone and kind of grow and do the self-growth and self-help and all the things that I needed to do after leaving the city. And once I found that in LA, I felt like I didn't really have the same feelings that I used to have going to LA. When I used to go visit LA in like 2018, 2019, it was so different than how it kind of evolved after COVID. I would say that LA is kind of in a bad state, like economically, I guess. A lot of the amazing stores that I used to visit in LA have closed. Sunset is now just trashed. There's not really many things open. All of the places that you used to go out have changed so much. Like there's not really any place to go out anymore. Wells and I are still very social, and we love to go to fun dinners and go out at night. Not like party like crazy, but we love to just enjoy life and network and meet people and see our friends. And a thing that I really struggled with in LA were friendships, I would say. Even though I wasn't there all the time, I feel like friendships organically happen when they're meant to be. And I feel like I did a very good amount of like reaching out to people and stuff like that. I don't know if I want to get into like all the personal things about like friendships there, but I just felt like a disconnect in LA friendship wise. And my outlook on friendships is based off of my experience, like anyone's, but when I used to live in New York, everything happened in like a domino effect. So if I were to run into someone on the street, it would be a domino effect of plans. What are you doing tonight? What are you doing Thursday? Oh, we're going here this weekend. You guys should come. Very inclusive, very kind. just very fun and outgoing. In LA, you would make plans with someone like a month in advance or like 2 weeks in advance, and then you would meet them for dinner or whatever, and then there would never be like a follow-up domino effect of plans like there would be in New York. So you would have an amazing dinner with those people in LA or that person, and then it wouldn't necessarily be like, oh, like this weekend we're going to this concert, or we're going to a game, or we're gonna go to dinner, like you should come. It was always just very much like, we had a great dinner, I'll see you in 2 months. And it was never like malicious, it was never like weird or anything like that, but it was just the energy people gave. Or on the other end of the spectrum, it was just very flaky. Like you'd make plans with someone like, oh, like I have to go to the airport tomorrow, or like it's too far to drive. So when you drive in LA, I think that the traffic makes it hard for people to make plans, because you have to dedicate like an hour in the car all the way there, and then you have to make sure you're staying in that place that you're driving to for like 3 or 4 hours before you make your trip back, just to make use of the time in the car. I don't know if that relates to anything anyone thinks about LA. I just felt like when I would even want to make plans in LA, I would struggle to think about like, oh my gosh, I have to leave here at noon in order to get there by like 1, and then I can't leave there till at least like 3 or 4 in order to like make use, or just like have it be worth it to go all the way there. And then you spend your whole day doing one activity. And then in New York, you can do an activity in 30 minutes or an hour and then go home, and it's very quick. You can just get way more done in a day there. So I felt like I was just kind of isolated in LA. Like I wasn't seeing the friends, I wasn't making enough plans, and I just felt a little unmotivated to make plans as well, because people would flake and I would just feel like it wasn't worth it, you know? And yeah, there was just like a lot of things. And then like going out at night, there wasn't really anywhere to go. And then Wells and I just felt like, okay, maybe we just need to be investing more time in LA. End of story. So we started spending more time there. I still felt like kind of empty, and I was like, okay, like, I don't know, I don't really feel like happy arriving here. Like going to LAX, taking the drive all the way home, and like being home in LA, I just didn't feel like that spark anymore. Like I just had this like gut feeling inside that I just wasn't happy there. And Wells kind of felt the same way, but he's very good with the flow. So I kind of was the one that planted the seed of like, oh, maybe I'm not happy here. And then I think that he started to kind of catch the bug as well, because a lot of his friends started moving out, and then he started to feel the same way that I did, like a little bit isolated. Like, okay, what can we do? What's the solution here? Maybe we just need to move to like a bigger space and try and really like put roots here, join social clubs, just start doing all of the things that like people really do in LA to invest in the quality of life. I was like, why don't we look at houses and just see if it feels right? Maybe if we're meant to be here, like it's gonna feel right if we go look at places. And so we looked at some homes in LA, like I'll show you guys here. They were really beautiful. They were really big, and we were thinking about renting one just for like a year, just to see if we wanted to be in LA. And then we looked at a few spots, and then we also looked to buy a little bit, but then we were like, this just doesn't feel right. We came home at the end of the day, and Wells and I just had a heart-to-heart, and we were like, I feel empty looking at these houses. Like, who are we gonna invite on a football Sunday that's gonna come over and that's gonna want to spend time with us? And like, I don't know, it kind of like hurt a little bit. We were like, okay, we're gonna have this big place in LA, but who are we gonna share it with, in a way? And so we kind of just went back to the drawing board, and I thought about it, and I was like, I really miss New York. I just miss the feeling I have there. I miss the motivation, the accessibility. I miss the people. I miss having access to like the brands that I work with. I kind of planted the seed to Wells, and I was like, would you ever move back to New York? And he was like, no way, like I can't, it's unsustainable. Like I don't think I could ever live full-time in New York again. And I was like, no, like not full-time, because I could never live there full-time again because of just like how intense it was. I was like, what if we moved there part-time and then we switched LA to New York? Like our situation of like 40% LA, 60% Texas, and then just did 40 New York and then 60% Texas. I don't know, maybe not. I don't know, we'll see, we'll think about it. And then a week later, he was like, you know what, I was thinking about what you said, and I actually think that we should look at places in New York. And I was like, okay, like great, that's so exciting. And so we went to New York, and I started my little like do like on my phone, like looking at all street easy, like getting addicted, like looking around every single last listing, and there wasn't really that much available. We worked with a broker, her name was Amanda, and she helped us find a bunch of places. And we thought about maybe like doing a timeshare in New York where we like split with another couple who's there part-time and then we're there part-time. We went through like all these kind of options of what we could do: get a really big place, do the timeshare, split it with someone part-time, or get a place just us that's a little bit smaller, that we kind of just like get our foot in the door in New York again and like see what happens, see if we like living there. And we looked at places all over New York for like a full week, and every single place that I went in, whether that was the right apartment for us or not, I felt good about. I felt good about being in New York. I just had this gut instinct, like I feel like New York is right, and New York is what I need and what I want. And I felt Wells felt the same way as well. So we found a place that we really loved, but it was huge. It was like a 3-bedroom, 3-bath. It was way too expensive. We're like, okay, let's try and do a timeshare and see if like another couple wants to get in on it with us. And we like went through the application process and everything, and we were like, no, like let's not do this. This is Wells had some reservations because I knew now I know that he was planning to propose really soon. So he was like, no, like we need to get our own spot. And so he kind of like pushed back on the one that was shared. And there was another apartment in the same building that we looked at that was perfect for just us. And I was like, I don't know, like it doesn't have enough closet space, like all this stuff. And then he was like, you're just not going to be able to bring a lot to New York. Like you're going to have to store it in Texas and do things seasonally and then whatever. And I was like, okay, well then in that case, I really like the place. And I think that it's perfect. And it had everything we wanted. Everything that I looked at in New York was like really, really expensive and just like not good enough, or it was like too small, you know what I mean? And so I was like, I'm not happy with like anything. And he goes, you have to like take your list and cut it in half. Like you have to be able to like pick 3 of the 5 things that you want on your list and have that be good enough. And we went and saw like a smaller unit in the building that we moved into, and we loved it. It was perfect. And I was just like, you know what? I can see myself here. We'll make it work. We'll get a really, really good closet system, and then we'll just make it work for a year. And if we change our minds, it's only a year. And then we got accepted, and then the ball started rolling, and then we were like, okay, we're really doing this. Like we're really going to move to New York and go back. And we did the whole thing, and it ended up working out great. And we moved in mid-December. Everyone just feels like so supportive of the decision, and I just feel like we've had so much fun since the time we've been back in New York. I just feel like alive again. I feel like the best version of myself again. Going there with Wells and moving back 5 years later with the love of my life, like it's such a fun chapter to be able to share that together and kind of do things the way, show him like my life from before, but also like incorporate him back into favorite things that I used to do. And also vice versa with him, because he went to school in New York. He went to Columbia, and then he was there for a while too. And so now it's just really special that we both get to share that together and experience this new chapter together. And another reason why we moved to New York is because my family's on the East Coast. My team is on the East Coast. It just logistically made more sense. My family's 45 minutes from New York on a flight in Virginia, and Wells is in Texas, so he's an hour behind New York. Being in LA was really difficult for us time-wise because Wells's team works in Europe, and so he'd have to wake up at like the crack of dawn, get on calls and speak to his team and delegate like very early. His hours were like crazy. And then I'm way more motivated in New York work-wise and inspired when I'm there. So I just feel like I'm going to be able to pump out way more content. I'm going to have way more accessibility to my clientele, my team, everything. And just like friends that I grew up with, my family on the East Coast, and then just easily get to and from Texas as well. So yeah. And then in the next year, who knows, maybe we'll buy a house in Texas and then we'll still keep a place in New York, who knows? But right now this is our new chapter and we're really excited. I can't wait to take you guys along on the journey. Get into the whole engagement story in the next video because I'm so excited and I need to tell you guys the whole story because I haven't even shared yet. We're also waiting on our engagement photos to come back from like a month ago. And then I'll share those very soon on socials. And then I was gonna do like a over the moon kind of announcement sharing the engagement story in like a publication, but I really want to share on here as well and like actually tell the whole story. And then I'll have Wells sit with me and we can like chit chat about that and like hang out and stuff. But yeah, I'm glad we got to catch up a little bit, and I hope you guys have the best day.